The next match, though, was a guy who we talked about a little earlier, Mr. Hughes taking on Mr. Perfect. Firstly, when this pay-per-view was around, I was 10 years old, so I didn't really understand 100% tip-offs. Mr. Hughes basically got the jobber's entrance, which is no entrance at all. He was already in the ring. That's pretty much a tip-off. He's not going to win this match. But at 10 years old, you really don't know that yet. But, we discussed a little bit about Mr. Hughes. One thing I found freaking interesting that I never, ever realized before, Mr. Hughes fought this entire match wearing sunglasses. Did you notice that?
Now I'm going to have to go back and watch it. The sunglasses stayed on the whole match?
Bro, the whole match never came off from beginning to end.
That's impressive. Like that... that takes the level of cool to a whole nother level. Like, God, like that's funny. That is honestly hilarious. Mr. Hughes, by the way, let's just say Mr. Hughes is still around nowadays.
Really?
He is still around, and I believe the last time I looked it up after this, I think he's had a match as recently as like 2014, working in like some mom and pop wrestling order, but still, like the fact that he still wrestles with the same gimmick in the same outfit with the same sunglasses. So just imagine, like.
It's crazy. I think I saw a picture with him a couple years ago, and like you said, the same glasses, the same everything. The only thing that looked different is I think he like went from long sleeves to short sleeve. That was the only difference I saw in the picture. Everything else was like identical. And honestly, I really don't remember too much about this guy outside of this pay-per-view. And I know he had like they showed a clip of him and Undertaker. He had a small feud with Undertaker. I don't even remember how that feud ended. Obviously, I'm sure Undertaker bested him, but yeah, I don't really remember him too much.
Wait, so you mean, see, and this is the thing. This is the only thing that I did remember Mr. Hughes from. I didn't know he was in King of the Ring before leading back into this. I didn't remember that. But you don't remember him as being Jericho's enforcer?
No, but you mean like later on?
Yeah, like he was Chris Jericho's enforcer, I think, when Chris Jericho, like a little while after he debuted in WWE, I believe.
Right,
I don't think it was WCW. I think it was like 98, I think, something like that.
We're talking like, you're talking 1998?
Yeah.
No way. Chris Jericho wasn't in WWE in 1998.
Oh, hold on. Let me go back and look it up.
The reason 1998.
It was 1999. So was he?
Really?
Was Chris Jericho in? He was in WCW then, right?
Yeah, he was in WCW.
So it was WCW then. My mistake.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I do remember him in WCW for a short stint. And his name Mr. Hughes in there as well?
Yeah.
His real name must be Hughes.
It has to be. Otherwise, WWE would have locked that
trademark
shit up quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you say that, you're right. I do remember him in WCW for a short stint. Yes, I remember.
It's funny. That's funny. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep distracting with random.
No. That's what this show's all about. It's old school. You know, we're not following any kind of script here. It's just all about having fun and remembering the good old days, basically. One other interesting note I made before the match even started: Mr. Perfect was really perfect because he had this one thing that he always did. Obviously, he had the thing with the gum. He'd spit it out and he'd hit it. That was like his trademark thing. But he would always throw the towel behind the back. And on this particular event, he did it. And when he did it, I don't know how he managed to do this, but it landed perfectly around the shoulders of Mr. Hughes. I don't even know if that was planned or not. But it was. Did you realize that? Did
I
saw
that happen. Mr. Perfect is. By God, that guy, man, and every time he comes up, I just think of the pedigree in which he had, and the fact that Curtis Axel is just like, and the thing, honestly, Curtis Axel is athletic. Curtis Axel has some skill. He's just not used well at all. And you would think, first of all, they don't let him use his name. He's a fucking Henning. Why is he not Henning? Like, do Curtis Henning, Axel Henning. I don't care. Have Henning as the man's last name. He's the son of Mr. Perfect. Come on now. I'm sorry. It bothers me every time I think about it.
I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I believe even like when he first was coming out, I was pretty excited to see him. He was what was it? Michael McGillicuddy? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as I found out this is Mr. Perfect's son, I'm like, shit, this guy's gonna be great. Because I mean, look who his father is. So, and it's just that I don't think they ever gave him the right character in the right direction, and that's why he is the way he is. So, but his dad was friggin' so legendary. This match, though, it wasn't, at least in my opinion, not the best of matches, and I'm not used to seeing that from Mr. Perfect. But I think one of the reasons why is because Mr. Hughes is not, one of the greatest workers. So there was I actually noticed one or two botches in the match. It is like you always say, your line is what it is. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I think in this, they wanted to do so much to try to establish Mr. Hughes to look like he was a threat to The Undertaker because he was carrying that urn. And I think that detracted from how good this match could have been, because Mr. Perfect, he's perfect. He could have, I think, a 3-star match with anybody. It just did not happen on this night. This was, it sucks because this did almost, it took away from everything that opening match set up, the excitement for it. And this was awkward. This was, as far as just the King of the Ring matches, we'll get into some of the stuff with the rest of the card. This probably was my most disappointing.
You mean matching the entire show or the tournament?
Just the tournament itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll agree. Well, there's one match that may challenge that, but yeah, for the most part, you're pretty right on that. But you know what? I didn't think about it. You actually made a great point. Because Mr. Hughes was feuding with Undertaker, they had to protect him a little bit. They couldn't make Perfect beat him outright, because then what kind of challenge is that for the Undertaker? So I never really thought about that. But yeah, you make an excellent point, and I guess that's what we got the finish that we got, which was, Mr. Hughes losing by disqualification, which still I think was done very stupidly, because he hits Mr. Perfect with the urn, and it wasn't like he was like trying to sneak it. He did it blatantly. The referee was 5 inches away from him, so it wasn't even like a sneak thing. It was right in front of the referee. So
it was those damn sunglasses. He couldn't see the referee.
Maybe it was the glare of the urn.
they were blocking out logic. That's what those sunglasses did.
Oh my god, crazy. Yeah, so Mr. Perfect moves on, which set up a phenomenal match that we'll get into later in the semis, Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart, which we will definitely get into later. Moving forward, though, the next match we had was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Bam Bam Bigelow. Macho Man, and I made note of this, said he was talking about the King of the Ring, and he said, this is the first King of the Ring that we're gonna have the King crown for the first time. Macho Man himself is a former king that actually won this tournament. So I don't know why they kept on saying they said this throughout the night, and it's like as if everything that happened in the past they just deleted from all of the history, which I don't think was the right route to go. But like you said again, it is what it is.
Let's and I'm sorry, let's just go. I mean, the first actual King of the Ring was in 1985.
Correct.
And I believe, was it Harley Race? Was he the first? I think he was the first or second.
I want to say it was Don Morocco, maybe.
Oh, probably. He probably was the first. So we had him. We had Harley Race, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Tito Santana, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Mabel. Oh wait, I passed 1993 now. But
let's start back 1985. So you said Don
85
Morocco.
Was Don Morocco.
Right.
86 was Harley Race.
Right.
87 was Randy Savage.
Okay.
88 was Ted DiBiase.
Okay.
89 was Tito Santana.
What, 90 was Duggan?
There was none in 90. There was not a King of the Ring in 90. And then 91 was Bret Hart, and 1993 was Bret Hart. So technically, Bret Hart won the King of the Ring back-to-back tournaments, even though they were 2 years apart. But the fact that they erased all that history, they wanted to ignore it. I mean, just look at that list that was the King of the Ring before 1993. That's a hell of a list, and the fact that you want to just eliminate that kind of bothers me some, because there's some history there.
Absolutely, and I think they what they tried to do was, by eliminating that history, they were trying to put more prestige into like this being the first one. They could have still put the prestige into it by saying, hey, look, these are all the former people to have won this thing. The only problem with that is Bret Hart was one of those people. If Bret Hart wasn't one of those people, they may have went that route, but it wouldn't have been as amazing. Like, oh, Bret Hart's the 1993 King of the Ring. Yeah, well, so what? He did it already 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One funny moment from this match, though, was Jim Ross when Hacksaw Jim Duggan was coming out, Jim Ross was like, "Oh, tremendous ovation for Hacksaw Jim Duggan," and Bobby Heenan just goes, "Yeah, I don't know why," and that was my thought. How was this guy so over? Really, how was this guy so over?
It's endearing. I mean, people just love Hacksaw. The funny thing is, I think it was back in 2008. I went to a Monday Night Raw taping, and he had like a dark match, or maybe he came out after the show or whatever, and one of the biggest pops of the crowd of the night. And this was in 2008. So Jim Duggan is just, I mean, he's endeared to our hearts. I don't know why. Well, Jim Duggan, since I was a kid, since I've been a wrestling fan, Jim Duggan has been around, and I've always been a Jim Duggan fan. So, I mean, that chant, the crowd, the walk, I don't know what it is. It's just, he endears himself to the crowd. We all love him. And even though, I mean, it's hard. I can't remember one marquee Jim Duggan match ever. But the guy himself, I love.
Usually when I talk old school with any of my friends and they issue a challenge, basically what you just said, you can't remember Duggan having a marquee match. I'm usually good on that, but I cannot name one marquee Hacksaw Jim Duggan match at all. No, not zero, nothing. I got nothing. But at any rate, Hacksaw Jim Duggan goes on to fight Bam Bam Bigelow, who I was a pretty big fan of Bam Bam Bigelow. I remember the first time I saw him was like the second annual Survivor Series or something like that. It was like 1989, and this guy was like 300 pounds doing cartwheels. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did they find this guy from? He literally was doing like cartwheels and shit. As a matter of fact, I remember playing. You remember that old wrestling game? I think it was called like WrestleMania. I think it was called. And Bam Bam Bigelow was in the game, and I used to love doing cartwheels because you could do cartwheels with him. Do you any recollection of that at all?
I don't remember the game you're talking. I mean, the earliest wrestling game I had was WWF something. It was on the Sega Game Gear and Sega Genesis. It was the first wrestling game I ever played. So I don't remember any cartwheels there, but maybe I was just so young I didn't know how to do them. So
yeah. So WrestleMania was Hulk Hogan was on the cover ripping off his shirt. It's like really really old. At any rate, we got Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hacksaw. Pretty boring match in my opinion. Your thoughts on this one?
This has been a snippet of Throwback Episode 2, King of the Ring 1993 review by JB and also myself, CEO Hayes. Please look at the link in the description to download and check out the full podcast. Thank you. Andre the Giant, things ain't been the same, no denying. Flashbacks to the past, WWF, those times was the best. The flying elbow from Macho Man, Sting with the death drop and the death lock. You can tell us what you wanna hear, cause we throw it back to the vintage years. Old school pay-per-views, ECW, yeah, we know you love it too. Roddy Piper to Ultimate Warrior, tune in to Throwback, cause we got more for you. Throwback, yeah, tune in to Throwback WWPN. Throwback, yeah, tune in to Throwback WWPN.